Christmas markets are coming up. How do you know which one you should book? Which craft fair is the right craft fair for you? This is a really difficult question, but it's something I'm going to help you with in this video. The answer isn't always black and white. I can't tell you what event is the right one for you. I don't know where you live. I don't know your area. But having spent many years running craft fairs and trading at craft fairs and visiting craft fairs, I've learned a lot about what makes a craft fair successful and how you and your small business can have success at craft fairs. So stick with me and I'm going to talk you through my strategy for working out which events you should or shouldn't book. If you are new around here, my name is Becky Wash and I run my business Retro from Scratch. I recycle old books and turn them into notebooks, and I also deliver and run craft workshops using the recycled paper. And for the last 15 years running this business, I have been trading at craft fairs and selling my wares. Prior to that, I had a career in museums where I would run craft fairs and events. So I have a lot of experience that I can share with you. So today we're going to be looking at how to choose the right craft fair for you. But this is just the tip of the iceberg because there is so much more that you can do to help you have a really successful craft event. So what I have done is actually created the Craft Fair Success Kit. Now this is 76 pages, it's a workbook, there's sheets for you to fill in and complete. Work your way through it, there's lots of hints and tips and everything that I've experienced over 20 years, I've managed to put together for you. I've put a link in the description below if you would like to find out more about it. But for now, let's see how we can get you choosing the right craft fair. So the first thing you're going to want to do is try and find the events. Now, you'll find these in a variety of places like Stall Finder, you may see them on Eventbrite. Facebook events is a really easy one, especially in your local area. Check out your local community centres and halls because they may have posters promoting their event that is coming up. If you're looking at Christmas events, then you need to be looking in August to get your booking in before the best events get fully booked. But there are other UK directories and I will put them in the description below for you so you can check them out. Now, once you have found your event and you think you would like to take part, there are certain things you're going to think about. Location, how much is the stall? Seems to be the first thing that people jump to, but we're going to come back to that in a minute. The first thing I want you to do is know your ideal customer. So if you haven't already, you should work out who your ideal customer is. And we do this by really narrowing it down so that you actually come up with one person, one name, and you know everything about that person as your ideal customer. Now, this person doesn't actually exist necessarily, but this is going to really help you focus on who you are selling to. And I actually have a worksheet about it's a 3-page worksheet for you to identify who your ideal customer is, and that you'll find in my Craft Fair Success Kit. So once you know who your ideal customer is and who you are selling to, the next question is, are they going to be at this event? If they are not going to be at this event, I think you can quite happily skip by and move on to the next one. Look for something else. That's number one. So what type of events are there? Now, I have categorised these in my Craft Fair Success Kit, but I'm going to talk through them now. So you've got your house parties or sole trading. And by sole trading, I mean there are some venues like community centres where you can turn up, you pay a minimal fee, and it's just you. You are the only person there. Now, that probably sounds a bit frightening. Why is anyone going to buy anything from you? Well, you are the only person there and you've just popped up. These little pop-up events can actually be excellent, particularly in community centres. So find a day where there's a lot of classes going on, like art classes, Zumba, perhaps there's baby childcare. And if your product works with those types of groups, then this is something really worth trying. And normally they are either free or a very low cost to have a stall. My local one is £10, and I've actually done really well at these types of events. I just turn up and I do the hours that I want to do, so a few hours in the morning, and I have made more money at these little events than some craft fairs where I've been all day. It's definitely worth checking out your local community centre and seeing if this is something that they would offer or be interested in. You never know, you might start a trend. House parties work in a very similar way, except normally it's free to be there. So there's absolutely no cost. It is just your time. And these people have come to a party. They are there to buy. They have been told that they should bring their money and come and spend it with you. So house parties are a really effective way of making sales or introducing your products to people. So we're talking like Anne Summers parties, the old Tupperware parties, except you don't need to sell these types of products to do a house party. You just need a friend who is willing to host you and tell their friends to bring some money and spend with you. And the other brilliant thing about house parties is they're only a few hours long, so you're not standing around at a craft fair all day, because as we know, time is precious. Then we've got our school fairs and church fetes. I'm going to group these two together. So they tend to be a minimum cost. So maybe you're looking at about £20 for a stall. Some schools and churches are starting to put their prices up because they realise the artisan markets charge a little bit more. Cost of living has gone up. These are generally fundraiser events. So they're just happy to put something on for the church or for the school to support them, but also for that local community. Now, for me, although I sell children's books, they're not actually aimed at children. They're a nostalgia product, so they're actually aimed at adults. School fetes are more pocket money prices. It really just doesn't work for me. School fairs are a big no-no. It hasn't cost me much to be there, but they do tend to be quite long days. Church fetes are slightly different to school fetes, around about the same cost price to have a stall, but you can get more of a community spirit there. And so therefore you are more likely to get people turning up and supporting the event. What I would do is check the location of this event. So if the church hall is not on a main road or it's quite hidden, then will passers-by see it and come in? If the answer is it is a bit hidden, set back, and we're also talking things like scout halls and things like that, that could be a real disappointment, and that would be a little red flag for me. So you are looking at places where you know there's your ideal customer, a good footfall of people just walking past who may stop and pop in, or a real good community spirit. Now, the county shows and Christmas markets are generally a bit more expensive because they are bigger events. They have a bigger hall, a bigger higher fee for the organisers, but also these are more professionally run. They have staff who are paid to run these events, and they should also be paying for marketing, paying for adverts on social media, and that is what your money is paying towards. This also is the same for things like Comic-Cons and these other bigger specialist events, and also the same for wedding fairs. This is why you are paying more money, because they are going to be providing you with tables, and they are going to be giving you the marketing to bring the people in and attend your event. So I would suggest, and this isn't always true, but this is what I have experienced. Now, this is going out in August 2026. So, you know, cost of living is going up. So these prices will change. But this is where we are at the moment. You're kind of looking £25 to £30 for your school fetes, your church fairs. Your artisan markets are looking at around £30 to £40. And then your specialist events, you're looking at £50 and up. And some of these can go well into the hundreds because it might be that you are required to be there for a whole weekend. Bigger doesn't always mean better. You spending more money does not always mean that you're going to get a better income. You're going to sell more on the day. Just because they're bringing in more people doesn't mean that you are going to sell more. I know it seems like that should be what happens, but it isn't. And some of these events, I went to one event where it was very large. There were a lot of people. Brilliant, fantastic. There was also a lot of traders. When I say a lot, it was more than I've ever seen before. But there were at least 30 stalls in the one room that I was in. And there was another room, very similar. And there was an outdoor space and there was another area that all had stalls. That is a lot of stalls. And at the end of the day, there's only so much money that people are willing to spend. And so they have to choose, are they going to spend it with me? Or are they going to spend it with that stall there? Or are they going to spend it with that stall over there? And so actually there was more stalls than there were visitors, really. If it's too big an event, it can be quite competitive. And so that's just something that you need to bear in mind, that bigger is not always better. Before you commit to booking, you can email the organiser and ask them questions. So I really recommend that you do. Find out, is there going to be an entry fee to this event? Because if there is, work it out how much it would be for a family of 4, say, to come along. If that price is too high, would you pay that to go to that event? If the answer is no, that might be a telltale sign for you. I have been to events where the entry fee became so high that it wasn't worth people coming in, and those that did come in had already spent too much money, so they didn't want to spend it on the craft stalls. A entry fee can work really well if it is a low price because it helps support the charity if it is a charity event. But at the same time, you get a different psychology where people actually have spent a couple of quid to get in, so they feel they need to buy something to have made it worthwhile. And you might just be that lucky stall that they have decided to spend their money with. Stall entrances are not always bad, but it all depends on how much. Now, an event like a Comic-Con, for example, they do have entry fees, and that's expected. It's that type of event, but that's because there's lots more things going on. There might be signings with people. There are other things that you can do when you are there. It's not just a craft fair. So that's to be expected, and therefore I wouldn't be put off by an event like that having an entry fee. But this is why it's important to do your research and check. Make sure you check the organisers. Make sure that they are legit. You can look on Trustpilot. You could look on TripAdvisor. Look at the venue. Just make sure that you've checked all of these things out before you commit to booking. The next thing I want you to check is whether you're indoors or outdoors and what your table size is, because I have turned up at events and been given a 4-foot table when I was expecting 6 foot. Now, that is quite different. There's a whole 2 foot missing. And that's important because if you are preparing your table, when you turn up, if the table is not the size you were expecting, where are you going to put all your stuff? You've not even started the event and you're already flustered because now you're not really sure how you're going to display everything or display it well enough. And that's when things can start to spiral out of control and you won't be on top form. So just check. If it's 4 foot, it's 4 foot, and that's fine. And you can measure out and work out what your 4 foot display is going to be like. But if it's 6 foot, then it should be 6 foot. And if it is an indoor or an outdoor event, whether it's summer or winter, you really do need to think about, is your product suitable to be outside? If it is windy, is it going to get blown away easily? I don't have that trouble, but I do obviously have trouble with the damp in the air. It doesn't even have to be raining, but if it's an early morning start, the damp can actually crinkle my paper, so I have to be very careful with that. But if you have candles and it's too hot, they could melt, or chocolate products. So you really need to think about all of these things before you book that event. And the very last thing I would say is check the date and the time. Is the date conflicting with anything else, any other bigger events or markets that are going on? Are people going to be going to that market instead of this one? Or is there like a special open day happening? So for example, in September, there's an event called Heritage Open Days. And this is where big buildings that perhaps wouldn't ordinarily, like historical sites, that wouldn't ordinarily be open to the public, open for one weekend only. And for me, working in the museum at the time, my museum was open every weekend. So the exclusivity meant that of these other places being open meant that everybody went there instead of coming to me. So this is just something that you need to be aware of. Is there any other events going on nationally as well? There was one craft fair I did and we weren't to know, but you know, the women ended up in the final of the World Cup and we won, which was brilliant, but it was a very quiet craft fair that day. But obviously when I booked it, I had absolutely no idea. So sometimes this can happen and it is out of your control. You can't blame the event organiser. You need to do your research and check it for yourself. And you also want to just check the time and see how long that day is going to be. Remember, you need to put at least an hour before the start time for you to set up. And then you've got about half an hour at the end for you to pack down. So check what the parking situation is, because if you've got to pay to park, you need to make sure that the car park will accept you for that number of hours. It actually cost me, for one event I did earlier this year, over £15 to park my car for the day, because it just went over into the next bracket for all day parking, which is very frustrating. I personally think most events would be absolutely fine if they just did 11 till 3. Why some people do 9 till 5 or 10 till 5 or 10 till 4, it always seems it's too long. 10 till 4 is probably the max that you really want to be doing, unless it is a specialist event where they may have early bird tickets or something like that. So do check the time, because it is an awful long day. So that is my experience of craft fairs and what I would advise to you. I hope you found this helpful. Like I say, if you want some more details, then you can get them in my craft fair success kit. Now in this video, we've discussed which event is the right one for you, but there is a lot more to it. How you display your stall, how you draw people over is all part of the craft fair success game. So I've actually created a freebie that you might like. It's called From Browsers to Buyers, and you can download that in the description below. I've dropped a little link. It's 14 pages with 7 steps that you can take to help up your craft fair game, because you can be successful at craft fairs. It is possible to make a profit. You are not wasting your time. And I just want you to be able to see how good craft fairs can be for your business. So do stay tuned, because I've got a whole playlist of craft fair hints and tips that you can follow. And if you subscribe, you'll be notified of when my next video is ready for you to watch, which will be sometime next week. So I hope you will join me again then. In the meantime, have a brilliant week. I'll see you soon.